Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. It's time to look at the online tournament results here post World Championships and see what decks have been doing good in the post Worlds format and see what people have been playing after the World Championships has concluded. Let's see if there's been like an uptick in decks or any decks in particular have been performing better due to a deck being more popular after Worlds. I think it's important to look at these results. Of course, Baltimore Regionals is still a couple of weeks away. Baltimore Regionals will of course still be happening, and this will be in this format still. So I think it's still important to look at these results going into potentially Baltimore Regionals in a couple of weeks. Now, before we do get in the video here, if y'all are new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We are on the road now to 17,000 subs. And of course, if you go on to enjoy the video, leave a like. If you're interested in playing any of these online tournaments for yourself, I'll leave a link to play.limitless down in the description below so you can join an online tournament for yourself and try one out. So without further ado, let's get into it here. We got 5 tournaments to look at here within today's video, so let's get into it. So starting things off, we do have the late night special at number 9, which was the most recent online tournament that just concluded. I was actually playing in this last night and I was streaming it. I went 5-3. Let's see. Hey, I finished 57th place. Let's go. Busted. But let's see. The deck that took down the tournament was Gardevoir, which is not too surprising to see with all the potential big basic decks that might be getting more popular now. It's not surprising to see a deck like Gardevoir take down the tournament. It is Gardevoir with a Mimikyu in it, Unfair Stamp Devo. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. It's got the Flutter Mane and the Klefki. Pretty important, I think, to play these two, especially if there's going to be more Turbo in the format and Iron Thorns. The deck that got second place is good old Lugia. I mean, just Lugia doing Lugia things. It is a Lugia list with no Cinccino, keep in mind. It's playing Iron Hands, Weird Ear, Flutter Mane. More of like a toolbox approach other than, no Cinccino. So, yeah, no Cinccino on the deck. More of a toolbox approach, like I said. Interesting stuff. It was able to get second place. Did lose to the Gardevoir deck here in the finals. Actually, now I got to go back. Does the Gardevoir deck play Enhanced Hammer? No, yeah, no Enhanced Hammer. Interesting. I wonder how the outcome was on that. There was an Ancient Box in top 4 here. I'm not surprised to see this. I think Ancient Box is going to see a little bit more play now, just because it does pretty good into these big basic decks like Roaring Moon, Iron Thorns, Miraidon. All pretty solid matchups for Ancient Box because it just kind of uptrades really well into them. You can easily get to a point where Ancient Box can one-shot those. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more Ancient Box going forward here post-Worlds. I don't know how good the deck actually is into like Drago and Charizard, which are still pretty big threats to deal with, but Ancient Box still seems like it's decent right now, and if you want a deck that can take down these big basic decks pretty handily, Ancient Box might actually be in a decent spot right now post-Worlds. Charizard was able to get top 4 too. It's actually the, interesting enough, it's like a yeah, kind of a hybrid, the Tord build in a way. Like, it's got inspiration from Tord's build, but it's not playing the Rabsca, which is surprising to see. No Rabsca, but similar stuff going on, except instead of Rabsca, we do see the Dusknoir intertwined in the deck. Also playing Heroescape as the A-Spec, which does make you a little bit more bulkier, and it can actually help when dealing with Regidrago. It also plays the Double Turbo. We might see Double Turbo be a staple in Charizard going forward because it's just really good with Pidgeot and Radiant Charizard. You can even use it with Pheasantipity to a degree, too. It allows you to use Pheasantipity's attack a bit more easily now. So you might see a little bit more Charizard going forward playing the Double Turbo, but it was able to get top 4 in this tournament. And I mean, with all the big basic turbo decks running around, it's still not a bad play either. Charizard's another deck that gets better when all those big basic decks get better. We had a Gardevoir in top 8 also here. Similar to the one we saw. No Mimikyu in this build, though. It plays only 1 Turo. Does have the Unfair Stamp, though. Also playing the Klefki and the Flutter Mane getting top 8. And there was a Drago in top 8. Drago still is a pretty popular deck. It was, I think, the second most played deck in this late night tournament, so not surprising to see it still find a home in top 8 here. Actually, interestingly, with this Drago list here, no, never mind. I thought there was something missing, but there wasn't. Yeah, we got the normal lineup of the Dragons, got the Mew, Fez, Squawk, Hawlucha, a pretty good 60. Playing Turo in the deck over a Switch, but does have a Temple of Sinnoh. Yeah, was able to get top 8, so pretty good stuff. And then we got a Miraidon in the top 8 here. Miraidon, I think, is going to, get more popular now post-Worlds. I mean, we are in a post-Worlds format where Miraidon did get top 4, almost made it to the final. So we're in this world where Miraidon is just going to probably see a lot more play now. It's still a strong deck. I mean, Iron Hands, still really good in the deck. Having access to that early game Miraidon pressure, too, can be really good. Yeah, it's still just a turbo deck. It relies heavily on the generator, so you are playing a casino. But at the end of the day, when generators be hitting Miraidon, can be hard to stop. So not surprised to see the Miraidon here in top 8 of the tournament. And then finally, we got a Moon in top 8. Now, this is a deck that I expect to see a lot more of going forward, is Roaring Moon. Now, Turbo Moon is a pretty powerful deck in our format. It's very fast, can just, win the game very quickly when you get those turn 1 donks. And I'm expecting to see a lot more Moon now post-Worlds. So we do see one making it to the top 8. Moon was actually the most played deck in this late-night tournament. I even played Moon myself to this tournament, so we're expecting to see a lot more Moon going forward now, and there was one in the top 8 here at the very least. And outside of the top 8, we did have a couple Raging Bolt. There was a Sablezard outside of the top 8 here, it looks like. Just wanted to point that out. Sablezard, the only Lost Zone deck surviving this format. And I also wanted to shout out Nerd Out here, who's chilling in the stream I was doing last night, playing at United Wings. There's one United Wings in top 16. Wanted to see United Wings make it all the way to the top 8. That would have been pretty hyped to see, but not quite there yet. Maybe one day we'll see the United Wings get into the top 8. Next up, we got the Silver Squad Tournament, where the deck that won was, in fact, the Roaring Moon deck. So yeah, Roaring Moon did win an online tournament here, and not surprising to see. Again, everyone's trying the Moon deck right now. With all the Moon being played, it's bound to win a tournament. And it was able to win. It might be the same 62 from Worlds. And then, of course, in the second place, there was a Charizard. It was actually able to beat Charizard, which is interesting, because I would imagine Charizard is probably slightly favored into Roaring Moon, but it was able to take down the Charizard here. And it is Charizard with the Dusknoir in the deck, playing the Thornton, playing the Double Turbo. Still some inspiration from the Tord build. But yeah, there's no Rabsca in this Charizard deck here, but does, of course, like I said, have that Dusknoir in the deck and stuff. There's a Shenpao in top 8 here. Doesn't have the Palkia. It's not the same from Worlds, but does have Rotom and Lumineon. Also playing just a 1/1 line of Bibarel. Interesting enough. Yeah, interesting. It's got the Forest Seal Stone in the deck. 2 copies of Arven to go with the Forest Seal Stone. Interesting stuff. Also playing Bravery Charm. So taking some inspiration from the Dunsparce build. And yeah, I was able to get top 4 here. Shenpao, I feel like it's underrated right now, in my opinion. I'm going to be honest with you. It is underrated. And there was a Guardy also in top 4. Good old Guardy. Playing the Tatsugiri in the deck. 3 Night Stretcher, too. Very heavy kind of Night Stretcher. Still having the Super Rod in the deck. So 4 recovery cards. Playing the Flutter. Playing the Klefki. Playing the Devo. No special energy removal card here, it looks like, though. So interesting. Very interesting Guardy list here. There's a Pidgeot control that made it in top 8, too. I know a lot of people are really trying to make Pidgeot control work within this new format. We are seeing this Pidgeot control build playing 3 copies of Mimikyu, playing the Sandshrew, the Ursaluna, the Ogerpon, is, of course, incorporating that brand new Genesect. When it has a tool on it, you shut off a spec card. So the Genesect does make sense to still play within Pidgeot control. I mean, I guess you're trying to shut off Prime Catcher, I imagine. I don't know any other. I guess Legacy Energy. No, Legacy Energy doesn't get shut off because you're accelerating the energy from the deck. I mean, it's got to be Prime Catcher, right? Just stopping the turbo decks from working. I guess that's like the main goal. But yeah, Pidgeot control, if somebody can make it work, somebody can build a good list that can beat most of the top decks. I think Pidgeot control is still like a strong deck, even though the format's just really wide right now. There is a Lost Box deck in top 8 here. It's a turbo build. Again, Turbo Lost Box I think is underrated right now. I'm still backing up this deck, saying that it's still not a terrible deck in the format. It's just nobody's really playing it because they're just scared of getting Kyurem'd. Honestly, I don't blame them. We see this Lost Zone build playing Iron Hands Moon and Blood Moon Ursaluna, also putting Pheasantipity in the deck. I think Pheasantipity is a very strong card to put in Lost Box right now. If you're going to play it, I would personally try to squeeze a Fez in the deck because you can get a lot of draw in the deck. And it obviously makes you better into Iono and Roxanne and Unfair Stamp, which is one of Lost Box's main weaknesses. So it is really cool to see the Fez being incorporated. It was able to get top 8. And I like the addition of Moon. Helps more into the Charizard matchup. And the Hands and the Blood Moon can kind of carry their own matchups. You kind of just cover all your matchups with this trio of Pokemon in the deck here. So really cool stuff. Seeing a Lost Box get top 8. And then we got a Blood Moon Iron Valley in the top 8 here. Now, this one did win an online tournament, obviously. Did a video on the deck, but the deck is still really strong, in my opinion. Still pretty underrated, to be honest with you. Blood Moon Ursaluna is a pretty strong attacker. It's a good one-prize attacker. It's a fighting-type Pokemon, can be very good into certain matchups, like Iron Thorns, for example, which you can use Iron Valiant against Thorns, since Thorns only shuts off non-future Pokemon, so technically you can still use Iron Valiant against Thorns. So this is a really good anti-Thorns deck, which is pretty funny. But yeah, this deck is pretty cool, and to see it get top 8 here, it's nice to see. We'll see if there's any other top 8 placements for this deck, because once again, the deck did win an online tournament, but that was before the World Championships, so cool stuff to see. And then we had a Goldengo in top 8 here. Cool stuff. I like seeing Goldengo make top 8. This Goldengo deck does play a Flutter Mane, and I guess it's kind of the counter to something like Iron Thorns, because Goldengo can get hard countered pretty badly by Iron Thorns. If you can't find your canceling clone in time, Iron Thorns just kind of walls you off, because like your entire deck is literally just abilities. Like your deck gets completely hard countered by Iron Thorns, so the Flutter Mane does give you a little bit more of an easier time into Thorns, because you put Flutter Mane in the active spot, well, of course, you do coin bonus, which is nice. You can kind of get to that point because Goldengo can easily one-hit KO an Iron Thorns once you get enough energy rolling there. And the Fluttermane does help in that matchup. And that was this tournament here. That was the top 8. Some interesting stuff in the top 8. Lost Box, Control, Blood Moon, Iron Valiant. Moving on, though, we do have at the Deck Out Monday tournament. The winning deck was Miraidon. So coming off that hype Worlds finish, it doesn't look like it's the same list that Jesse played. It is playing Iron Thorns and Raichu. Also playing some Judge in the deck here for a little bit of extra disruption. I guess Judge plus Hands or Judge plus Miraidon Donk can go pretty hard. But yeah, Miraidon stonks are way up right now. And it's cool to see the Miraidon deck do good here post-Worlds. Did win this online tourney with the addition of Thorns and Raichu. I do like the idea of maybe playing Raichu. If there's going to be a little bit more Charizard going around right now, it's not terrible to have Raichu, I feel like. And then Thorns isn't terrible either, to be honest. I mean, can help in other matchups, obviously. Can be good in the turbo matchups, I guess, because you can shut off the Squawk ability. Raging Bolt did get second. I mean, it is classic Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt doing Raging Bolt things. Is playing to the Fluttermane. Fluttermane, honestly, might start being a staple in Raging Bolt going forward, just because you do need it to counter Thorns. I mean, Raging Bolt actually isn't that bad in Iron Thorns because you can use Sada, you can Burst Roar and stuff, but Iron Thorns can be very annoying because it does shut off your Ogerpon and stuff, and then it slows your deck down. So, I mean, if you're playing a Fluttermane in Raging Bolt, I feel like your matchup against Thorns gets slightly improved, so might have to start being a staple going forward, especially post-Worlds where it won. Now, this top 8 is a little ridiculous, and obviously we're going to get to that in a sec. We had another Turbo Moon here in the top 4. Again, Turbo Moon doing really good in the post-online tourney scene, or post-World scene in these online tournaments. Looks like it might be the same 60 from Worlds. Now, here's where things get ridiculous, folks. Oh my... What the heck, bro? The rest of the top 8 is Charizard. There's 5 Charizard in this top 8 of this tournament. What is this, bro? Oh my gosh. Crazy enough, they didn't make top 4. We got one Zard here in the top 8, is playing at the Dusknoir, not playing the double turbo or anything, just playing at the Dusknoir in the deck. And then we got another Charizard. This one has Mist Energy in the deck alongside the Dusknoir engine. Also, let's see what this next Charizard. I guess Charizard Mist Energy isn't bad either right now into the Roaring Moon. We got another Charizard here with the Dusknoir. Does play the double turbo in the deck and the well, it's playing Silene actually, not playing Thornton. Silene's interesting. It does get you back canceling Clone. Makes your control matchup slightly better, I guess. Silene, Turo, Palpad does of course play the double turbo and the Dusknoir in the deck. Oh my goodness. This next Charizard here is playing the Rabsca, so a little bit more similar to what Tord was playing. Isn't playing the double turbo energy in the deck. Actually cut it for a 6th copy of Fire Energy, but this is more or less like the Tord build of the deck. Of course, with the addition of the Rabsca, plays the Thornton, plays the 6 Fire. Just no double turbo is kind of the big omission, but similar stuff what Tord had. The 2-2-1, the 2-1-2 Charizard line, the 2-1-2 Pidgeot line, even playing the Pidgeotto with the TM Evo. Alrighty then, and let's see what the last Charizard in top 8 was playing here. Alright, this one, whoa. This one was also cooking, bro. We see a Skeledirge EX. That is a card I have not seen in a long time. It does have that ability where, of course, you can discard a Fire Energy from your hand, and then during your turn, your attacks will do 60 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. If you can set up Skeledirge, I mean, you can make Charizard do 60 more damage out of nowhere, which is pretty deadly. So it's an interesting concept, Charizard Skeledirge. That was something that I think a lot of people were looking at when Skeledirge was first starting to come out in Paradox Rift, but nobody really was able to make it work, I guess. That's interesting to see. A Charizard Skeledirge deck is definitely an interesting concept. That's cool. I mean, this might be the first time the Skeledirge has made top 8 in an online tournament, to be honest with you, ever. So it's a first for everything. So that's really cool. Interesting technology being seen within these Charizards. That was a crazy tournament, bro. This Deck Out Monday, man. 5 of the top 8 being Charizard is just wild. All right, moving on. We got the Sunny's Weekly, which was won by Ancient Box. And like I said, Ancient Box looking pretty good post-Worlds. Like I said, it can feast on the Roaring Moon, can feast on the Miraidons. This one does have the Petron and the Pheasantipity in the deck. Plays a Penny in there, too. Penny and Petron, that's a lot of switching to have in the deck, not going to lie. That is quite a bit of switching, but, I mean, hey, you're not losing to Snorlax, I guess, when you have Penny and Petron in the deck. Plays the Walking Wake, no Koraidon. Does play that Great Tusk in the deck, too. Then we got Snorlax here in the finals. I guess makes sense. I mean, Snorlax can't beat Petron, Roaring Moon, and I'm not surprised to see the Snorlax deck lose in the finals here to the Ancient Box. Makes sense, because, yeah, Ancient Box with the Petron just auto-win Snorlax. There's really nothing they can do about that. You can just attack with Moon every single turn. You can't do anything about it. We got Raging Bolt here in the top 4. Playing 3 Pokemon Catcher, playing the Iono. No Judge. That's interesting. Thought I'd see more Raging Bolt with Judge, but I guess not. We got the Sandy Shocks in the deck over the Fluttermane, so probably going to be taking a bit more of a worse matchup potentially into the Thorns. And we got a Miraidon in the top 4 here. Looks like it's similar to what Jesse Parker played, playing the 1 research, 4 Arven, 3 boss, the Iron Hands, the Miraidon. No Thorns or no Raichu in this Miraidon build here in the top 4. We got a POW in top 8 here. And it looks like, yeah, similar to what we saw at Worlds, actually. Pretty similar list to Lucas's list from Worlds. Playing the Palkia, playing the Hands, playing the Fez. The supporter lineup looks the same. Yeah, everything looks the same here. Looks like it's the exact 60 from at Worlds. But yeah, like I said, Chien-Pao with the Palkia, I think it's pretty smart. I mean, it does help your matchup against Regidrago. And POW, I think, is just kind of underrated right now. Overall, I think it's just an underrated deck. So pretty cool to see it in the top 8 here. We got another Zard here in the top 8. It was the Binding Mochi Charizard deck. Okay. Binding Mochi Charizard. The underrated way to play Charizard, maybe. Again, being able to poison your Charizard with Binding Mochi, making the Charizard do 40 more damage out of nowhere is pretty cool. It's like having a mini maximum belt. It does play the Lost City in the deck, which is an interesting ace pack. We don't really see Charizard play Lost City much anymore, but Lost City could be good within Charizard. It does allow you to do more with against like Gardevoir and stuff. Makes your Guardy matchup a lot better, which is probably one matchup you would maybe want to slightly improve with the Charizard deck. So there you go. And then we got a Lugia in top 8 here, also playing the Cinccino in the deck. Looks like it's actually similar to maybe what Rahul played. Does play that one of Lightning and the Earthen Vessel and the Legacy Energy. No Raikou in the deck. We know Rahul was able to get 9th place at Worlds, but he had the Raikou V and the Lightning Vessel in the deck alongside the Iron Hands. But having that extra Lightning Energy can go a long way to make it easier to attack with Iron Hands, but also makes you not just lose randomly to an Enhanced Hammer or a Temple of Sinnoh out of nowhere. So the Lightning Energy does make sense within the deck here. So this one was able to get top 8 in the tournament. And then in the top 8, we also have yet another Charizard. And it looks like we got the Tord Charizard deck here with the Rabsca. We got the Double Turbo, the Pidgeotto in the deck, it looks like, the TM Evo and stuff. So the Tordzar deck was able to get a couple top 8s here post-Worlds. Is it the best way to play Charizard going forward? I'm not too sure. I don't really play a lot of Charizard, but it does seem pretty good. And again, if there's going to be a lot of Drago going around, the Rabsca's good to have. And I will say Charizard is pretty strong into Turbo Roaring Moon, so I mean, we might start seeing an uptick in Charizard. I mean, we saw one of the tournaments, ridiculously, half the top 8 was Charizard. Actually, funny enough, in 9th place here, we had a Conkeldurr deck, the Lone Conkeldurr Warrior. Haven't done a video on Conkeldurr yet, updated. I do need to try Conkeldurr with Binding Mochi very soon for a YouTube video, so I do got to get on that. But it is cool to see a Conkeldurr here make it to the 9th place. Actually, a pretty interesting list here, playing Hassel in the deck. I didn't want to highlight the Conkeldurr deck. It's a pretty cool deck. Some cool decks here. We got Blood Moon, Conkeldurr, a Skeletor Charizard deck. Man, the online tourney scene is wild. All right. Finally, here to round things out, we got the Happy Tournament here, which, you can't really see it. We did see the deck that won the tournament was Turbo Moon. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to see Turbo Moon start to dominate these tournaments. Turbo Moon did win an online tourney here, and then it was also able to get 2nd place. So, the finals was that Turbo Moon mirror match here. And actually, interesting enough, the top 4 was also then two Gardevoirs. Surprisingly, I feel like Gardevoir is actually favored into Turbo Moon. Even though, yeah, I mean, you are a Dark deck. Just because you're a Dark deck doesn't mean you beat Gardevoir, but it is interesting to see Gardevoir lose to the Turbo Moon. Interesting Guardy list here, playing at Moonlit Hill Stadium in the deck alongside, there's a candy in there too. Yeah, Moonlit Hill, the stadium, no Artisan, no Temple, playing at the 1 rare candy, having the Mimikyu in the deck also, and the Klefki Fluttermane. So, pretty interesting Guardy list here for sure. And then we got another Guardy here in the top 4, playing the 1 Enhanced Hammer, playing the Fluttermane, the Klefki. Yeah, pretty simple stuff for that Guardy list. So we got a Miraidon here in the top 8 also. Yeah, might be similar to what Jesse 60 looked like here. Playing 2 Forest Seal Stone, a bit heavier kind of Forest Seal. Try to abuse the Forest Seal Stone a little bit harder when you do have that Town Store in the deck. But yeah, it might be what Jesse played here. And then got the Raging Bolt here. No Raging Bolt with no Judge, no Fluttermane in this deck here. Playing a Lost Vacuum in the deck and 1 copy of Brave Charm as kind of the tech cards, I guess, in this Raging Bolt deck. But not surprised to see Raging Bolt still continue to do well here post-Worlds. There was a Pidgeot Control in the top 8 here. Also, yo, Greninja Pidgeot Control. You love to see it. I did a video on this archetype already. Greninja's not a bad card for Pidgeot Control. Like, Greninja does have, you know, the ability, well, not the ability, but the attack to get you a free card out of your deck, kind of like Pidgeot does. So, like, if you're not getting Iono'd constantly, you're always able to just keep accumulating cards in your hand. Really cool to see a Greninja Pidgeot Control here in the top 8. It does have similar, like, control stuff like the Ogerpon, the Luxray, the Ursaluna, the Sandshrew, the Ogre, the Wellspring, but it's incorporating that brand new Genesect technology that the control decks have been playing here. Got the Eerie in the deck. No Xerosic. I guess you don't really need Xerosic. Actually, interesting, though, too, with this control deck playing Legacy Energy as the ace spec. That's interesting. Legacy can be a Rainbow Energy, I guess, in some scenarios, but it can also be on your Greninja, and then your Greninja EX, when it gets taken out, only gives up one prize card. So that's really interesting to see the Legacy Energy be the ace spec in this Greninja Pidgeot control deck. That's cool. Greninja in top 8 always makes me happy here. And then in the top 8, also, interestingly enough, we have a Turbo Iron Leaves Ogerpon deck. So it's not really a Future Box deck. I know it looked like it was a Future Box deck in the deck preview, but it was a Ogerpon Iron Leafs deck. This deck's actually pretty cool. I've tried it, done a video on this deck also on my channel, and it's not bad. Iron Leaves can be a really good attacker. You can donk your opponent. Technically, if you get 3 energy in play, you can make Iron Leaves hit even harder with the help of Booster Capsule and Iron Crown. It's a really cool archetype, and I did enjoy playing it when I did a video on it. It can play Bug Catching Set. Yeah, it's a cool archetype, right? It's a cool archetype. I like it. And, it might be good into Moon, because you can take the first 2 prizes against Moon and kind of just swing the prize trade in your favor. You still have the Miraidon in there and the Weird Ear for that extra little bit of backup support. Yeah, cool stuff. Nice to see this Turbo Leafs deck get top 8. Cool stuff. Some cool decks making top 8 here. Post-Worlds, not going to lie. But those are all the big Post-Worlds tournaments that I could find for today's video. So making things to look at. A lot of people playing Turbo Moon. Turbo Moon is seen a lot. We're playing now. Like I said, it's starting to catch on. It was the most played deck in the late night tournament here. Well, actually, it was one of the most played. The other doesn't count. Other doesn't count because there's like a bunch of random decks. Like it was tied with Regidrago as most played deck in the late night tournament. And it won 2 of the tournaments here. We see a lot more Miraidon doing well, too. Miraidon and Moon, I think, are just going to be a lot more popular. One thing to note, actually, in these tournaments we looked at, there was no Quad Thorns in any of the top 8. So, despite winning Worlds, we're not seeing as much Quad Thorns doing well in these online tournaments, which is interesting for sure. I guess more people are just teching for it, or more people are playing decks that can beat it. That might just kind of be the thing with those. But yeah, interesting stuff for sure, and it's going to be cool to see where the meta goes going forward, going into Baltimore Regionals. Will Turbo Moon be a really popular deck at Baltimore? I believe it will. Will Thorns be popular? Well, judging from these online tournaments, Thorns not being as popular, not doing as well. I don't know if we're going to have to worry as for Thorns as much at Baltimore than we do with Turbo Moon. I would say Turbo Moon is going to be a bigger deck to look out for in Baltimore, in my opinion. But that's it for me on today's video. Hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll leave a link once again to play.limitless down below if you want to go play in any of these online tournaments for yourself. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, subscribe down below. Help me on the road to reaching 17,000 subs and all that good stuff. And I'll catch you on another video. Bye-bye.